I watched the video, and the first thing for me is just I'm angry. I'm angry. I'm ashamed. I got really emotional.
On the ground! I think I tased you! Get on the ground!
It just makes it so hard. We work so hard to build trust with the public in Pierce County and in Washington State. Something that happens across the other side of the country can affect us so much. And you see something like this, and it totally, I can understand why people might not trust a police officer the next time they see him.
Keep your hands up where they are. Just stay still. Don't move.
You know, I saw some body cam footage of you and some other deputies arresting a man recently who was wanted for some pretty dangerous crimes and was armed with a large knife. I didn't see you beat the guy down. I didn't see you tase him. I didn't see you pepper spray him. And he wasn't, responding well initially to your commands. But yeah, you got him safely into custody. What's the difference between an arrest like that and what you're seeing in Memphis?
The best thing I can do for people is to show you and let you into our world and see how we actually deal with people, which is why it's so important for us to show you body camera footage of arrests that we're making.
There he is, right there! Show me your hands! Get up now!
Tell you the details of the types of crimes that we're seeing and how our deputies are getting these guys into custody. In the video you're talking about where we arrested the guy with the large knife, he was somewhat compliant because he had his hands open and out in front of him, but he was not listening to anything we were telling him. You rammed a police officer's car. You almost ran over another police officer.
You guys have a good one. Why don't you go step out of the vehicle? Get out of the car.
We have a dog barking at you that we can let go at any point because you're not following commands anymore. But it's on us to kind of gauge and see how people are reacting. And although he wasn't verbally being compliant, he wasn't posing a threat to us, which is why we were able to move up and just gauge him by grabbing his arm. And at that point, he didn't resist. We were able to take him into custody, no problem. There was 5 of us there.
Oh, listen to us, okay? Listen to us. You have a knife.
2 of us had arms. Somebody else got on his back. Somebody else grabbed his legs to make sure he couldn't struggle or fight with us, because the danger becomes when he removes that knife. Now we have to do what we have to do to protect ourselves. And we don't ever want it to get to that point. So we set up and we try to use as many deputies as we can, have as many options as we can to resolve it without having to use any extra force.
You know, we have a problem with stolen guns in our state being used in crimes. Oftentimes, traffic stops will help recover those stolen guns or even lead to an arrest of a wanted felon. Have you had any recent examples like that?
Yeah, just last night, January 31st, we had a deputy in our mountain detachment pull over a vehicle for an illegal turn. When he got up to the vehicle, he started talking to the driver and immediately noticed a gun was in between the driver and passenger seat.
What's that in the center? Don't reach for it. Looks like a gun handle. Is that a gun?
He ordered the driver out of the car, detained him, then detained the passenger, went back up to the vehicle, had dispatch run it, and it came back stolen. So this was a stolen vehicle now that he had. He had both the occupants detained. When he ran their information, the male was a convicted felon.
You told me that you're a convicted felon and there's a gun in the car. Okay.
The firearm that was found inside the vehicle, when he got permission to go grab the firearm, that was also stolen.
Are there any other firearms in the car?
No, sir.
So our deputy did a great job. It wasn't that somebody called in and said that there's a guy who's a felon in a stolen vehicle with a stolen gun in it. The deputy just did his due diligence. He saw a traffic violation. He made a stop, and he found all this other information. We are responsible for the people in our care. We're responsible for the people in our community. And if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then why are we even here?
There was a guy arrested. He shot at 2 Puyallup police officers. I saw the guy had an injured hand when he was in court. He wasn't injured during the arrest, though, was he?
No. And that's one of the things, like, we see this incident where the cops might have been upset because he shot at them, which does heighten the level of stress and the level of force that we have to respond with. When they're looking for him, they have their guns out, and they should. But when a person gives themselves in, we have to have restraint. And that's what we see when 2 Puyallup officers were shot just a little while ago. The guy came out, surrendered, laid down on the ground, put his hands behind his back, and the SWAT team took him into custody, no problems. I come up to the scene to start getting some footage, and I see the guy walking over. Two officers are helping, walking him to the ambulance. They sit him down on the stretcher. The firefighters and paramedics are there to help this guy, and nobody's roughhousing him. Nobody's punching him. Nobody's calling him names. We're professional in every sense of the word, and that's the thing that the majority of the police officers that go out there and do this job every day are just that. They are professionals. And I think that gets lost when we see videos like this, because that really doesn't represent who we are. But those are the videos you're going to see more than the videos of the officers gently taking someone into custody. Because you have to remember, we're doing, just in Pierce County alone, we have 2,000 calls for service amongst all the agencies within Pierce County. That's just one day, over 2,000 calls. So imagine how many contacts we actually make during a year in our one county, and then multiply that across the entire United States. There's lots of opportunities for great things to happen. There's lots of opportunities for bad things to happen. And I know that we train in Pierce County to make sure that those bad things are weeded out, that deputies understand what their responsibilities are, and we hold them to expectations that they need to be professional and have excellence in their service, in their community caretaking, and just showing compassion out there, because we are responsible for the people in our care. We're responsible for the people in our community. And if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then why are we even here?
I look at your blotter post on Mondays to see what deputies have had to deal with over the weekend. One stuck out to me because we've done a lot of work on the Spotlight about the fentanyl crisis, killing people, taking lives, fueling crime, major cartel drug dealing going on, some of the busts that have happened. But this is an epidemic in our state right now. It's impacting everybody. Doesn't matter what economic class you're from, doesn't matter where you're from. On a daily basis, your deputies are running into people who are high on fentanyl or high on meth, and it's all tied to stolen cars, or I should say sometimes it's tied to stolen cars. What happened in this case with this guy who had this fentanyl hidden in a secret compartment and who refused to get out of the car? How did your deputies handle that situation?
Yeah, the deputies saw a stolen vehicle. They were trying to pull it over. It took off. He turned off his lights. And when I see the dash camera footage, which unfortunately we can't release, the vehicle kind of spins out at 224th and Mountain Highway, and now is facing towards the deputy. The deputy gets out of the car and tries to do a felony stop, and is telling the driver to put his hands up, and he just puts up his left hand but not his right. And now I know that he was trying to start the car and it would not start. But that's very dangerous when somebody's not showing you both of their hands when you have a gun pointed at them. So that after not getting compliance for a few moments, the deputy walks over to the window and breaks out the driver's side window. And at that point, both hands popped up, and the deputy told the guy to come out. It was weird because at that point, it's almost like it took all the excitement out of the call, so to say. The guy didn't try to run. He didn't try to reach for anything. He stepped out of the car, realized it meant business, and turned around and put his hands behind his back right away. It was a great job by the deputy to gain that compliance, and sometimes breaking the window is what it takes. So, but once that guy was taken into custody, they did search his person and found some pills in his pocket. But then fast forward, when he got to the jail, he had stashed some stuff inside areas that we don't like to search in the field, but they do strip searches in the jail for felony crimes. And he did have some more pills inside of or on his person that we had to collect. And now he's getting charged with possession of drugs with the intent to sell.
Yeah, and you don't hear that a lot lately when you arrest somebody. So he must have had a little bit more than just a couple of personal use pills. Finally, Darren, what we've talked about tonight is a snapshot into a couple of days, but this is going on every single night. These people are on the roads with us when we're out there with our families. Deputies are doing the best they can. It seems like our legislature is pushing hard to make things harder on your deputies. Is that the feeling among law enforcement?
I would say yes. I'd say it's really hard. I can't think of any other profession where there's so many strict rules that change how you operate. I mean, if we change the rules for you that you had to get a in paper signed copy of my consent to record every time you record me, that would do a lot to your guys' job. You have to send somebody down here just to have me sign a form so we could do the Zoom call. It changes how the system works. Sometimes the processes that are put in place make our job a lot slower and make things take a lot longer. And that plays out for the community in a different sense. Again, we're out there, everybody signed up to do the right thing when they join law enforcement. We want to keep the public safe, and we want to make sure that our officers are doing what they're supposed to do. And if an officer's not doing what they're supposed to do, we're going to punish them. We'll fire them if we have to. We'll press charges if we need to. But I think the focus needs to be more on punishing bad actors, punishing people who are doing wrong, than trying to change the system. Because I think with the loss of law enforcement officers that we had from 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic and the new law changes, we're having a big increase in crime. We have less officers to deal with it now. We have a 96% increase in stolen vehicles, which, oh, well, you guys will figure it out. No, we're not. We can't go and put a detective on every single stolen car that we get, especially if there's not enough evidence off the initial investigation. So it's impacting the community because they're seeing more and more crimes in their area, but less of these crimes are getting resolved because there's so many things that are happening now. We have so many more homicides. We have more armed robberies. I can't assign someone to a stolen car if armed robberies are up 71%. We have to investigate those first.
Yeah, we need to put victims first and stop coddling criminals. And I hope the legislature hears that, because people in the state are starting to get fed up, but they haven't voted that way. And the way things are going right now, they're just going to continue, and your jobs are going to be harder. Sergeant Moss, thank you for this candid conversation. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.